So in the previous video, we discussed the introduction of cybersecurity, and precisely we answered the questions, the what of cybersecurity, why and how of the cybersecurity. This is the second video in which we will be discussing web application security and the Owasp standard. Now we understood that cybersecurity specifically deals with data which is stored in the digital space. On day-to-day basis, as you see, these are the many applications that we use. For example, it may be Netflix, Snapchat, it may be Uber, Google. We rely on all of these softwares very heavily for exchanging data and to make sure that we have backup of data. So these are all web applications. So that means the applications whatever we are using are used over the internet. We are connected to the internet through these web applications, and the data that is being uploaded is always in the digital format. Now when it is in the digital format and when we are using these applications on day-to-day basis, we must definitely ask this question: how safe is our data? Because we blindly trust these applications because of the reputation they have, and we keep uploading all the data. We give consent so that they have access to our location, they have access to all the media files that are stored on our devices and other things. But how safe is the data on these applications? This is the main question which comes into picture whenever there is any huge scam that gets into the limelight. That's why web application security is the key, because let's say Google is heavily dependent on the data that it is receiving from the users. If the data is not safe and if any of the customers are badly impacted due to any security breach, that means the company's reputation is going to topple down. And that is the reason web application security is the most important thing for all these software companies. Now, importance of web application security, as I told you, brand reputation is one of them. But what are the other factors which are playing a key role here? It is the data protection. Now, as a customer, if I am using WhatsApp, then I trust WhatsApp that they are going to save my data very securely. And that's the reason they use encryption, and I'll assume that my data is safe, and whenever there is any private conversation that I'm going to have with one of my friends, it is going to remain safe, because that is the trust I have on this application. Next is the compliance regulations. Now this is based on the regulations or the laws made by the land, by the government in that specific area, stating that if you are taking data from the local people here, then how are you going to safeguard it? So all these web application developers or the web application organizations, whoever own these applications, should adhere to certain rules and laws of the land. That is about the compliance regulations. And then comes business continuity. Let's say you are running a very successful business just like Meta or Google, but one day there was a huge attack and many people got impacted because of it. Probably their most sensitive information like Aadhaar card numbers in Indian context or social security numbers in case of the US context got leaked. Then definitely these customers are just going to move to other applications which are more trustworthy, because they lost trust in your brand. So these 2 points are closely related to each other, the business continuity and brand reputation. Once your brand reputation takes a hit because of any cybersecurity attack, that means your stocks are going to fall down. So that's the reason it is very important to make sure whatever application that you're developing is secure enough, because you're dealing with people's data, the users' data, the people who put money in your pocket. Now, well, we understood that web application security is important and how cybersecurity is going to help you in developing the cyber secure applications. Now, there comes this question. Well, you taught me about cybersecurity, you told me that it is important, but when it comes to implementation, what are the standards am I supposed to follow? How will I know that whatever application I am developing, is it safe enough or no? Are there any metrics for it? That is what we are going to discuss now. Talking about the standards, we have a foundation which is a non-profit organization which is open and free, which goes by the name Owasp. It stands for Open Worldwide Application Security Project. So this is a huge group of people who are into the cybersecurity space. On day-to-day basis, they analyze the vulnerabilities in various web applications. They come up with certain metrics, and they also give you the methods that you are supposed to follow in web applications development so that it is secure enough. So what about this Owasp Foundation? It is a consensus driven guidance. That means there are a group of experts sitting back there who are analyzing the applications, who are analyzing the current trends in cybersecurity space, and they provide the metrics and standards that have to be followed by all the application developers. Then they have this comprehensive resources. So they not only give us the metrics, they also lay the guidelines that you're supposed to follow. They give you something called as CWEs, which is nothing but the common weakness enumerations. So they have all these coded along with proper numbers, so that once you go through their documentation, it is a proper guideline. So you'll understand, okay, this is how I'm supposed to improve my application in terms of cybersecurity. And the best part, it is open source and free. So if you are interested in contributing, you can do that as well. Otherwise, you can make use of that material. And the last but the most important thing is that this foundation is very active. They remain up to date and they try to address the most latest threats as well. Now this is a top 10 list which was released by Owasp in 2021. 2021 they came up with this list that these are the types of attacks which come into the top 10 list. And they keep updating this list every 3 to 4 years. So we can expect a new list either in this year or sometime next year. So as you can see, they marked this A01 in 2021 stating that broken access control. Now this is the name of a vulnerability. Now this has moved to top 1 position. Earlier when there was a release in 2017, injection took the first place. That means the websites, the hackers look for the vulnerabilities so that they can inject the code. But here now they have discovered that broken access control, these are the types of vulnerabilities which are getting exploited excessively. So you can go through their documentation on the official website and find out about each type of vulnerability, the attack vectors and how you can mitigate them. Last but not the least, it is very important for you to learn as much as possible so that you understand and stay in tune with the emerging trends in the present time. And it is very essential to also read the real world case studies. So if you talk about real world case studies, you can read about the articles which talk about the attacks which happened in the past, which are very famous. NotPetya is one of them, to quote, which is top of my mind right now. But you can also read about similar attacks. You can go through all the analysis that was done back in time so that you stay in tune. So that's it for today's session. This was about web application security and how Owasp serves as a standard.